Bounties. Who needs them? We all have them. They're just like us. How do I want to open this? Bounties are this new feature they've added to Commander that adds a second deck of random characters that you can go try to take in by performing certain actions on your turn. But all of the characters are completely unique to bounties. We've never seen them before. Normally I wouldn't care that much. It's just a fun little add-on product. What's the big deal? But like, have you seen some of these designs? They're cool. Like, we were robbed. Where's Squeakers the Sly? Why aren't they in the main set? So I took it upon myself to design a Squeakers the Sly legendary creature for probably no one. This is for me only. No one's gonna care about this video. But I'm very excited to show them to you, and I hope you'll join me on this journey. When I see Squeakers the Sly, I see an uncommon legend, so I figure we'll build them as a signpost uncommon. With Bloomburrow coming up, we know that red-white is the mouse faction, so that's a great starting point. Trying to tie them into Outlaws of Thunder Junction's draft archetype, red-white is the least defined one of them all. Just looking at the actual red-white legends from the set, we've got non-combat damage matters, activated abilities matter, and Ox Kindred? It's a mess, but there are a lot of mercenaries in red-white, and Squeakers the Sly looks like someone who knows how to form a posse. I start Squeakers the Sly by making them a 3-mana red-white legendary mouse rogue. I could have gone with any of the outlaw types or any mana size, but it just feels right to me for some reason, and I can always adjust from there. I figure they should be pretty nimble, so I give them menace, and I want them to have an interaction with both mercenary tokens and mice for whatever future mice tokens we get in Bloomburrow. To do this, I decided I should say all of your mice are mercenaries, which I just think is really cute. As much as I want them to be good at making mercenary tokens, I also want them to make the mercenary tokens better. So I added this ability that gives all of your mercenary tokens, when this becomes tapped, you may untap it. This triggers only once per turn. You can see how that would interact well with the mercenary ability from Thunder Junction, but it's also just a generally useful thing, giving your mercenary tokens pseudo-vigilance. It's definitely a decently constrained effect, since it only applies to mercenary tokens. Well, and mice tokens, because they are mercenaries, I guess. Last, they need to actually make those mercenary tokens. At first I thought it might be an enter the battlefield effect, but that's just never as interesting as a recurring effect. So I figured I'd lean into the aggro theme of red-white by having Squeakers make a 1/1 mercenary token with the mercenary ability whenever you attack. Not even they attack, so you can get them the turn they come into play. I took this first concept and started punching it into MTG.design, and started tweaking it for space. At this point, I realized I completely was ignoring what the actual bounty card that they come from does. And when I'm reading it over, I realized it's kind of the exact opposite of Menace. So I swapped Menace out, but I want to replace it with something that also works well to represent the nimble nature of Squeakers the Sly. I decide on First Strike, which also combos really well with the mercenaries that they already synergize with. I merge the first two effects into one ability so that instead the triggered ability that they add just applies to both mouse tokens and mercenary tokens now. I also changed the wording slightly so that it simply triggers the first time they become tapped in a turn, as opposed to triggering once per turn. I just find it's cleaner and easier to read personally. The only thing left I haven't talked about is that, well, I made them a 1/1. I just figured they're a little mouse. They should be a 1/1. And with First Strike and the ability to increase their power from the mercenary tokens, they should still be a pretty formidable threat despite the low power and toughness. With all that said, meet Squeakers the Sly. A poster on the town of Brightstone's bounty board reads, "Wanted, Squeakers the Sly for the crimes of breaking into the governor's mansion, attending the governor's ball uninvited, fraternizing with the governor's wife, fraternizing with the governor, breaking the governor's heart." That line is crudely crossed out. "Dropping a priceless chandelier on the governor's vault's guards, absconding with the governor's jewels into the night, 1,000 gold ingot reward for live capture and retrieval." Squeakers the Sly is a 3-mana red and white 1/1 mouse rogue with First Strike. Other mercenary tokens and mouse tokens you control have, whenever this permanent becomes tapped for the first time each turn, untap it. Whenever you attack, create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token with tap. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery.